Alright guys, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a taste of what a shaman is. I'll do that one first since that was the first one that was asked for me. I know Logan's probably like, no, but it's okay. I'll get to yours next. So the shaman has 3 specs, as do most of the classes. There's just a couple that don't. So on the average, everybody's got 3. And they all do different things. That's kind of the point. So let me get to... this is on my 110 character. He is pretty close to being max level, but he's got 10 more levels to go. So let me find where the... Oh, I gotta go somewhere else here. I'm gonna go find where the target dummies are, and then I'll kind of go through what each of the abilities do. That way, if you were to play them, then you could kind of use this as a guide, I guess, or just get an idea about whether this is something you want to do. If you are sold on the shaman, then maybe this will help you decide whether you want to be elemental or enhancement. So enhancement is the melee spec. You're going to be in your target's face, real close to them, doing the damage, trying to dodge stuff on the ground. The elemental shaman is going to be more of a ranged. While leveling though, the elemental shaman, you're going to still have stuff coming up into your face, but you can deal damage to them as they're coming to you. So kind of in a sense, the enhancement shaman is used to stuff being in his face, whereas the elemental shaman isn't. But at the same time, you have the ability to deal damage to them before they get to you. So hopefully they're mostly defeated by the time they get to you. So you might remember some of the things that you see me doing here as I get to the target dummies. Ghost Wolf and all that. Target dummies are just down here. We don't have flight in this new zone yet. This is the newest zone, and so that's why I'm slow footing it. Okay. So these, if you open up, you hit N. N is your... let me turn some of this sound down here. There we go. N is your talents. So the middle spec here, that's your enhancement. And these over here on the right hand side of what you can choose is kind of your core abilities. So Rockbiter, let me back up a little bit. So the shaman works not off of mana anymore. Your health bar here, there's the green, mana bar is the blue. I don't know if you remember that or not. If you didn't know that, that's what those are. When you come into the game, your health bar is going to be up here in the top left hand corner, and your target, which is this unit frame over here, is going to be right next to it. I've moved them down because when I look at my character, it's right in this area here, and I like to be able to see my health and my target's health kind of in the periphery of my eyes. So shamans work off of the Maelstrom utility. So they're building Maelstrom power, they're spending Maelstrom power. Just think of Maelstrom in the sense as mana, but you start off at 0 and you use abilities to spend, or to build to build Maelstrom up, and then you use abilities to spend that Maelstrom again. So Rockbiter is one of your most basic abilities. It is going to be the one that you probably use the most to build Maelstrom, unless you're using like a cooldown or something that's going to give you a lot of Maelstrom all at once. So Rockbiter just does damage, builds Maelstrom, that's all it does. Flame Tongue is an ability that does initial damage, but every time you swing your weapon, every time you hit with your weapon, I should say, you deal fire damage as well. And it does that for 16 seconds. So let me come over here to this target, and number 2 on my action bar here is my Flame Tongue. So let me get out of Ghost Wolf. I come up to this target and hit 2. You'll notice up here on the top right hand corner, there's Flame Tongue is on me. Now every time I deal damage with my melee abilities, it will deal fire damage in addition to my melee abilities. So it's important that you have that up all the time. Storm Strike is a Maelstrom spender. It has a 7-second cooldown, but its purpose is to deal a lot of damage. You look at the difference between Rockbiter at 671 versus Storm Strike at 2000. Storm Strike is where all of your damage is coming from. So as I'm building up Maelstrom here, you see this is the bar in between my health and my mana. That's my Maelstrom. So let me build up some Maelstrom here. So you notice the numbers here. So a Rockbiter is about 1600. Flame Tongue is about 700. We'll watch Storm Strike. Can't really see the numbers. 3000, 3800, 3800, 3000, 3800, 3000. So it does a significant amount more damage. Okay, the next one on our list here is Wind Fury. Now this is a passive ability. This is not something that you have to activate. Each time your main hand weapon, that's this one here, each time it does damage, it has a 26% chance to trigger 2 extra attacks, dealing additional damage. So think about the Flame Tongue ability, right? So every time your main hand weapon does damage, it does fire damage as well. So when Wind Fury goes off, you have 2 extra attacks that are dealing extra damage, plus they each have Flame Tongue on them. That's why it's so important to have Flame Tongue on all the time. If Wind Fury were to go off and you didn't have Flame Tongue on, you're just losing free damage. So these two synergize really well. These two synergize really well. Builder, Spender. Crash Lightning here is kind of like your AoE damage. I'll read it here real quick. Electrocutes all enemies in front of you, dealing nature damage. Hitting 2 or more targets enhances your weapons for 10 seconds, causing Storm Strike and Lava Lash to also deal nature damage to all targets in front of you. And this lasts for 10 seconds, right? So let's come over here to these group of enemies, build up some Maelstrom here so that I can do my ability, and then I'm going to hit Crash Lightning, and then I'm going to hit Storm Strike, and Storm Strike's dealing damage to everybody. The whole time I have Crash Lightning, which is this buff up here on the right, up on me. So if you're in a group where you're doing where you have a lot of targets on you, and yes, you do want to have Flame Tongue on during these times, you want to make sure to spend your Storm Strikes and your Lava Lash while your Crash Lightning buff is up. So yeah, that's what Crash Lightning is. It just helps you not only deal damage with the Crash Lightning ability, but it lets your 2 major Maelstrom spenders, which we haven't gotten to Lava Lash yet, to deal damage to everything as well. Next thing on your list is Feral Spirits. This is the cooldown. So what this does is it summons two Spirit Wolves that aid you in battle for 15 seconds. So it's a little bit longer than Crash Lightning. They're immune to movement and parrying effects, and they generate 5 Maelstrom each time they attack. So I'm at 0 Maelstrom here. So I'm going to wait till that goes down just a little bit. And then I'm going to send my, where'd they go? Spirit Wolves over here. So I'm just going to hit F, and they're going to deal damage. Well, watch my Maelstrom go up. So basically what these guys do is, as long as you're engaged in combat, they're going to do damage. So I'm going to Crash Lightning while they're doing their stuff. And I should just be able to hit my Maelstrom spenders while they're out. If they aren't out, then I've got to pay attention to building Maelstrom and not just spamming my spenders. But that's your basic. I'm surprised Lava Lash isn't up here, but let's go through some of the abilities. I'm going to hit P, opens up your spell book here. Some of these aren't really relevant to the spec. All of these specs get Ancestral Spirit. It just reses somebody. If you see somebody out in the wild and they're dead, you can resurrect them. Or if you're in a group, somebody dies, you can resurrect them out of combat. Astral Recall just is like your Hearthstone. It just returns you to wherever you have your Hearthstone set. And it doesn't use your Hearthstone cooldown. It's something extra. So shamans have like an extra way to get home. Astral Shift, that is a talent. No, it's not either. Let me switch back over here. No, okay, they just gave that to you. Okay, so Astral Shift is a defensive ability, and it just makes you take 40% less damage for 8 seconds. That's all. It's kind of nice. Bloodlust is something that all shamans get and all mages get. Their ability is called Time Warp. This gives you 30% haste for all party and raid members for 40 seconds, and it's a 5-minute cooldown. But it gives you a debuff that won't let you benefit from Bloodlust effects or Time Warp effects for another 10 minutes. So it's kind of an ability you don't ever hit if you don't know what you're doing, because people get mad at you. I don't know why, but they will. Capacitor Totem is something I haven't really messed around with too much, but what it'll do is after a while, so I'm going to cast it on my group over here, you hit the ability and it gives you like this targeted spot. You put it where you want it and then you left click and it'll put it out there, and then after a short period of time it'll stun everything in an AoE. It's kind of powerful if you can time it right, get it where it needs to be. But yeah, so that's Capacitor Totem. Cleanse Spirit just removes a curse effect from you or somebody that's friendly to you. Earth Elemental is kind of cool. This guy can tank for you for a little bit. He only lasts for a minute, and he doesn't go very far. But he'll go over here, and he'll come up and tank for you. So you can see over here down below your health bar how much more time you have before he goes away. So if you're fighting somebody that's particularly hard, that's hurting you, you can summon this Rock Elemental. He'll come out and take the heat instead of you. He also has a 5-minute cooldown. It's a very long cooldown. So yeah, use him sparingly, or every 5 minutes, whichever you prefer. Okay, so the next one is Earthbind Totem. Earthbind Totem is a slow. You put it out there, and it's like a targeted area. You put it where you want, left click. And now everything in that area is slowed down. It's kind of nice. That's really useful if you're trying to get away from something. So let's say that you're being attacked and you're trying to get away. You can drop your Earthbind Totem, shapeshift into Ghost Wolf, and run away. It's very useful. Farsight doesn't really do much. It is handy though if you're trying to look through an area like this. Like, say that I need to go through this doorway here, but I don't know if there's hostile mobs on either side of the door or not. So I can use Farsight. I can click outside here. After short little summon, it moves my camera to where that spot is, so that I can look around and say, oh, here's a couple guys. If I run through here, they'll aggro to me and start attacking me. So that's a useful way to use it. I'm going to skip Feral Lunge because it's a talent. I'll go over those in a minute. Frostbrand is another buff ability. I'll put that over here for now. And it spends Maelstrom. This is more of a... So let me get some Maelstrom built up here. You can use it if a target's running away from you. You can hit them with Frostbrand, and it will slow their movement again by another 50%. Actually, it puts a buff on me for 20 seconds, and every time I hit them, it slows them. So humanoids in this game, once you get them down low enough in health, they will attempt to run away. This is a very useful, combined with Earthbind Totem, very useful way to keep them from running away and getting friends. That's a quick way to get overwhelmed. So that's very useful. Let's put those kind of together. That's a good idea. Yeah. You've seen Ghost Wolf. Healing Surge is just self-heal. If you have Maelstrom, it'll use Maelstrom and make it instant cast. If you don't have any Maelstrom, it becomes a cast. But it always takes mana, and it takes 1,000 mana. You only have like 4,000 to begin with, so you can only heal yourself like 4 times before you run out of mana. Just heads up there, it's not going to last forever. If you're really low or you're fighting something that's really taking your health down, it's best just to run away instead of trying to heal through it. Hex is a what's called a CC, a crowd control ability. It turns a mob into a frog for a period of time. Now, if you get hexed, you can still control your character, but you can't attack. So let's say that I'm a frog right now. Some other shaman has hexed me for whatever reason. If I'm silly and have PvP turned on, I can still run around and kind of be in that person's area for when the hex debuff comes off a cooldown. Then I can do my thing. But if you're fighting, just random things out in the world and you hex them, they'll just run around like they don't know what's going on. Lava Lash is another Maelstrom spending ability that deals damage, and excuse me, what it does is it doesn't do as much damage as Storm Strike. It still does more damage than Rockbiter, so the idea is you have a lot of Maelstrom built up, and your Storm Strike is on cooldown, like right now. So I would use Lava Lash instead of Storm Strike because Storm Strike's on cooldown and I can't use it. So that's kind of what that's for. So that way you don't overcap, so to speak, on Maelstrom. You're not at 100% and still generating. Lightning Bolt is just a ranged ability. It just lets you get the attention of somebody. It doesn't really do damage. It's not something that you want to filter into your rotation. It does very, very little damage. If you look at like a Rockbiter attack, like we said, was like 1,600 or something like that, versus a Lightning Strike like 300. So the only way you would ever use Lightning Bolt as an enhancement shaman is just to get the attention of somebody. Let's say you're fighting this guy and you want this guy to come over and fight with you. You just shoot lightning at him and continue to fight this guy. This guy will come over here that you shot lightning at, and you can start attacking him. That's what that's used for. I won't go over Lightning Shield since it's a talent. Purge just removes a beneficial ability from a target. So let's say you're fighting a guy and he puts up like a shield or something and you can't do damage to him. Well, you can try and hit Purge and take that off of him. Sometimes it'll work, and it will make or break whether you can take a guy down fairly quickly or not. Spirit Walk is just kind of like a get out of... it's kind of like a free movement type ability. So let's say that you're slowed down, you can hit Spirit Walk, and it will give you, not only give you speed, but it will let you move through anything that tries to slow you down. Very, very useful. There's tons of stuff in the game that slow you down. Even when you're doing PvE content, you're not fighting other players, you're fighting game content. You get slowed down, you can hit Spirit Walk, and boom, you're good to go. Let's see, the next... Okay, Tremor Totem. Tremor Totem is like... It removes charm and sleep effects. So the tricky part is you have to put it down right before... yeah, so for 10 seconds it shakes the ground. So let's say that you see a sleep effect or a charm effect that's coming into you. You're fighting something. You can throw down the Tremor Totem and you get slept and it will shake the ground and wake you up. Or you get charmed and it'll shake the ground and break the charm. So it's kind of useful. Water Walking does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you walk on water for 10 minutes. It's kind of nice. It's very useful. It's over here for me. Wind Shear is your silence. So let's say that the target is casting something that you don't want them to cast, like a fear or a huge damaging ability. You can just hit the silence and it will silence them. It's got a decent range on them, so even as a melee ability, it's got a 30-yard range, so I can be way over here. See, 30 yards. So from here to that guy, that's 30 yards. So it's quite a ways. You don't have to be in melee to do it. Okay. That's the basics of the enhancement shaman. So right now, this is the current best talent usage. You can pick literally whatever you want. They all will be useful. Everything in here is kind of read through it, understand it, pick what you like, play with one for a little while, change it, play with another one for a while. This is what I'm using currently. This is what I like. Lightning Shield just puts a shield on you, kind of like in the old days. They took Lightning Shield away, and I don't know. Now it's back. So it says surround yourself with a shield of lightning for an hour. Melee attackers have a chance to suffer nature damage when they attack you, and add a charge to my shield. When I Storm Strike, it gains 2 charges. Once it reaches 20 charges, the shield will overcharge, causing you to deal nature damage with each attack, in addition to your Flame Tongue, and generate 100 Maelstrom over 10 seconds. So you probably saw it happen. I get electrified all over my body. It looks really, really cool. Talk about like lightning fantasy going all over the place. So right now I'm at 9. We'll just kind of let this thing build up here. Storm Strike as much as I can, because we got to get to 20. So it's 17, 19, and here's 20. So now look at my generation here. It's crazy. My Maelstrom generation is very, very good. So I like this one. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do, but I do like it. It builds up to 20 fairly quickly. The next one I have is Forceful Winds. When Wind Fury occurs, it causes each successive Wind Fury attack within 15 seconds to increase the damage of the Wind Fury ability by 100%, stacking up to 5 times, and the Maelstrom generation. So kind of, let me break that down for you. I just Wind Furied there, I just Wind Furied again, just Wind Furied again. So that just made that damage. You see it up here stacking, Forceful Winds. So every time I Wind Fury, it's going to increase the stack up to 5 times. The hope is that this never falls off like it did. It can fall off, it can stack up to 5 times, and you just end up doing a lot of damage. It's really, really cool, especially once you get your melee attack speed up through gear. You're going to gain more haste on your stats. It's going to be really cool. This talent right here, everything on this talent is just kind of your choice. I think they recommend Earth Shield. I like Spirit Wolf because, just kind of read what it says here. While transformed into Ghost Wolf, you gain 5% increased movement speed and 5% damage reduction every second, stacking up to 5 times. So let me go into Ghost Wolf here, and you'll see Spirit Wolf here start gaining stacks. Well, at 4 stacks, my movement speed increased by 20%, and I take 20% less damage. So that's another thing, like I was saying earlier, you're getting attacked by somebody that's really big. Throw on your Frostbrand buff, hit Earthbind Totem, and get into your Ghost Wolf, because even though they're probably still attacking you, they're chasing you, you're taking 20% less damage very, very quickly. I like that a lot. Searing Assault improves your Flame Tongue. Flame Tongue now causes the target to burn over 6 seconds. So I don't know if you noticed that. Come up here, hit Flame Tongue, it puts a debuff on them, making them take extra damage. So not only am I dealing damage to them over time with that debuff, but I'm also buffing myself, increasing the damage that I do by putting fire on my attacks. But I also have the lightning going off as well. So it's a lot of little damage that adds up, and it's very, very powerful. Feral Lunge, that's the next one that I really like. Any other thing on here will work really well. I like Feral Lunge. Basically what it does is I'm over here running up to a target. I think it's got a 25-yard range, 30-yard range. I can hit Feral Lunge. It turns me into Ghost Wolf temporarily and gets me to the target very, very quickly. It's got a cooldown, so you can't just daisy chain from one mob to the next. But it's very useful. Sundering is an AoE ability. It's very, very powerful. Shatters a line of earth in front of you, causing main hand weapon damage, causing flame strike damage, and incapacitating the enemy for 2 seconds. So let's come up here. I'll put Flame Tongue on and hit, and it just does it does that. But it does a lot of damage. Yeah. Okay, the next one there is elemental spirits reduces the cooldown of feral spirit by 30 seconds and causes your feral spirits to be imbued with frost, fire, or lightning, enhancing your abilities. So I don't know if you noticed that when I cast my feral spirits abilities, I have a wind one and a lightning one. So now that enhances my wind and lightning damage. So I can come up here. I'm going to, as long as this frost wolf is out, or this lightning wolf is out here, I'm going to wind fury more often. It's going to do more damage, and my lightning abilities are going to do more damage. It's kind of cool. You're probably wondering what this thing in the middle here, this is something called Weak Ores. It's an add-on that I've set up to help me in like raids and stuff. You don't really need that for leveling. So basically all you want to do is Rock Biter until you can Storm Strike. Make sure you have Flame Tongue on at all times. You might want to start off dealing damage with Flame Tongue. And when you're when you can't cast Storm Strike, cast Lava Lash. But basically you're going to just kind of mash whatever's available. And as you level up, you'll gain passive abilities, like some of these passive abilities. Maelstrom Weapon. Your auto attacks and Wind Fury attacks generate Maelstrom, which is crazy. I have no idea what level you get that at. In Mastery, you get at level 80. Enhances your... here, I'll just read it. Increases your chance to trigger Stormbringer, which is this passive ability over here. And Wind Fury by a percentage based on the amount of Mastery that you have. So Mastery is a stat that you get on gear. I have 48% Mastery, so this has almost a 2% chance to trigger both of those, and increases all fire, frost, and nature damage you deal by a percent based on your Mastery stat. Reincarnation. Every time you die, you have the ability to reincarnate, come back to life. Stormbringer, your weapon attacks have a 6.8% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Storm Strike and cause your next Storm Strike to deal 25% more damage and cost 100% less Maelstrom and trigger no cooldown. So do you remember this talent here? Increases your Storm Strike damage, right? Basically this entire spec is built around the Storm Strike ability. So, and then Wind Fury, which we went over. So let me come over here. You'll notice that as I do damage to stuff, oftentimes my my Storm Strike ability, like right there, didn't cost anything. I didn't get a cooldown on it, and I could cast it again. Just like there, it happened again. So basically, once you get high enough level, your ability to Storm Strike becomes very, very regular. Whereas early on, Storm Strike is one of those things that, yeah, it does a lot of damage, but you can't do it as often. Yeah, I just did it again, just did it again, just did it again. So it can chain on itself and become very, very fun. So that is the Enhancement Shaman in a nutshell. Elemental Shaman should take us a little bit less time since we've kind of understand some of the basics already. So let me put on my elemental weapon here. There we go. So you want to dual wield weapons, either hammers or fist weapons or axes as an enhancement shaman. As an elemental shaman, you want a main hand and a shield. So let's go over some of the core abilities here. Lightning Bolt is going to be your filler. It generates Maelstrom. Lava Burst generates Maelstrom. And if you read there, it says if the target is afflicted by Flame Shock, Lava Burst will always critically strike the target. A critical strike is a for shamans, I think it's 2 times damage. Come over here and it's just a chance to deal extra damage or extra heals. So let's see if I can show you the difference here. So I'll put Flame Strike on, see if a Lightning Bolt, it should not, oh, it did crit. So there's a normal, so the numbers don't pop off, like when the numbers get really big, it's a normal, here's a crit. The numbers popped up, so that's a critical hit. Earthquake is an AoE ability, targeted AoE ability that costs Maelstrom. It just deals damage over time to anybody that's standing in its way. So Chain Lightning is just like lightning, but it chains. It hits many targets at once, and it is really, really cool. So here's Earthquake. It's a targeted ability. I just put it where I want it, left click, and then it will affect the ground, and anybody that's standing in that area will take damage over time. Earth Shock costs 60 Maelstrom, quite a lot, just the same as Earthquake, and it will deal just a tremendous amount of single target damage. It's your nuke. So once you get the idea is Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst are similar to your Rock Biter abilities. They're both generating abilities, and your Earth Shock is like your Storm Strike for Elemental Shaman. The main difference is you don't have the ability to just continually Earth Shock. That would be OP. Thunderstorm is a very controversial spell. It does a knockback. When you're playing by yourself, it is very, very, very useful. When you're playing with other people, it's not very useful at all because they'll be doing something, you'll hit them with Thunderstorm, it'll knock them away, and whatever that person was trying to do can't do it anymore because the target is no longer where they were. It's very unpredictable. Somebody come up here, and let's say that there's a guy standing right here, and he's doing something to this target dummy, and I come up here and a Thunderstorm, knocking this target dummy away. Well, this guy can't do anything to the target dummy. Whatever he was trying to do got interrupted, basically. So by yourself is very useful. When you're not by yourself, don't use it. The other ability there that it was talking about is Fire Elemental. It's very much like Earth Elemental. It's got a 2.5 minute cooldown though, so half the time, and it is one of your cooldowns. I would consider it a cooldown. So I'm going to pop my Fire Elemental, and it is going to deal damage with me for a period of time. So I'm just going to do some damage here. I'll go over these abilities after a minute. So yeah, this is the Fire Elemental. He's very, very cool. I think he sticks around for about the same amount of time. I don't think he sticks around forever. Yeah, there he goes. He's gone. The Shaman community has been asking for these guys to be pets, permanent pets, for a while. Blizzard just isn't interested in doing that. So let's go over some of the abilities that we haven't talked about before, and then we'll get into the talents, and I'll show you kind of why I picked what I picked. We're going to skip Elemental Blast. It's a talent. We've gone over Farsight. Flame Shock is kind of like Flame Tongue weapon, but it doesn't buff your weapon. You target them, it deals an initial damage, and then it does damage over time. It does damage. It's fine damage. It's not the greatest, but its primary purpose is to debuff the target so that your lava bursts always crit. So what you want to do when you're playing Elemental Shaman is you want to make sure that the target always has a Flame Shock on it. You don't need to cast it all the time. Just kind of watch it over here on your target. Once that cooldown gets kind of low, it stays on there for quite a while, 18 seconds. So it's quite enough time. I think one Flame Shock is enough time to take down most mobs that you're going to see out in public or out in the world. Frost Shock is similar to Frostbrand weapon, except that it doesn't buff your weapon. None of these buff your weapon. That's enhancement's shtick. Frost Shock just shocks the target, and it slows them by 50%. We went over Ghost Wolf, we went over Healing Surge, we went over Hex, went over Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt. That's a talent. We went over Purge, we went over Thunderstorm, Tremor, all of this stuff we went over. Okay, let's go over some of the passives, because these abilities that are the same, Water Walking, it's the same. Wind Shear, it's the same in both specs. Elemental Fury, your damaging critical strikes deal 250% damage instead of the usual 200. So Shamans get an additional benefit from Critical Strike, which makes them like Critical Strike more than anybody else. Because it deals 50% more damage. Yeah, so 50% more than it normally would. So Lava Surge, your flame shock damage over time has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Lava Burst and cause your next Lava Burst to be instant cast. You probably saw that happen. So as it does damage, you'll get this red thing on the side of your character. That just means your next Lava Burst is going to be instant cast. And it will reset the cooldown of it too. So let me just kind of keep casting here, and our cooldown is been used. Let's see if it'll trigger. We'll just keep using it as it goes. There it goes. Just reset it, which is really nice. So as you're playing, you'll be casting Lava Burst. You'll be like, wow, man, I've got another one available. Yeah, it's really nice. So this effect is similar to the effect on the Enhancement Shaman that resets the ability to Storm Strike again. Each spec has its own special mastery. We went over Enhancement Shaman's mastery, which makes their Storm Strike ability happen more often and makes them deal more damage. For the Elemental Shaman, your Lightning Bolt, Elemental Blast, Lava Burst, and Chain Lightning casts have a 44% chance based on your mastery stat, chance to trigger a second cast on the same target for 85%, again based on your mastery stat, of normal damage and generates less Maelstrom. So it does generate Maelstrom, but it's not the same, and it does deal damage, but it's not as much. Basically, like when you see me casting something, if you see it go off twice, like right there, went off twice. See if I can do it with Lightning Bolt here. It's not a very high chance, is it? 43% chance, so less than half the time. You see it a lot with, there we go, it happened twice again there. It can happen with any ability. So it's really awesome when you Earth Shock elemental overloads, because it deals a tremendous amount of damage. It's fun when Chain Lightning triggers. Right there, it just did it. It has a, because this hits 3 targets at once, or 4 targets, whatever it is, it has a higher chance of happening. So when you're dealing AoE damage as an Elemental Shaman, you look like Emperor Palpatine with his lightning damage. It's really fun. Like, look at that, just constant lightning damage. It's really fun. And then, of course, we've got Reincarnation. So that's the Elemental Shaman. Let me sit here and do some, let's do some talents real quick. Echo of Elements is the one you want to pick here. I have Elemental Blast because I have a ring on me. You probably noticed in the Enhancement Shaman I had one of these colored talents selected. I've got a ring on me that gives me these extra talents. That's one of the mechanics, one of the gear that I got from the last expansion. Once I get to 115, it won't work anymore. I'll lose that ability. But this is the one you want. Basically, this gives Lava Burst 2 charges instead of 1. But Elemental Blast, in the meantime, is really nice because it increases Critical Strike, Haste, or Mastery for 10 seconds. So when I cast Elemental Blast here, it gives me a buff. Well, this time it increased my Haste, which is nice. We like Haste. It helps us cast faster. It helps our Flame Shock deal damage more often, which has more chance of Lava Burst happening. We like Mastery because it gives us a higher chance to overload. So that right there, it overloaded, which gives us 2 buffs, which is really, really powerful. So this gives me Mastery and Critical Strike rating, which is, you want that to happen. That's really, really powerful. Here we have Totem Mastery. What this does is this puts down totems around us instantly, and it does one of each. So a Resonance Totem generates Maelstrom automatically every second. Storm Totem increases the chance Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning will trigger Elemental Overload by 5%. That's huge. Increases Flame Shock's damage over time by 10%. That's okay. And then increases your haste by 2% overall. It's pretty good. This Spirit Wolf ability is exactly the same as the other Spirit Wolf ability. Obviously, I like this talent. Liquid Magma Totem is really, really cool. Everything in this tree is very, very, very cool. But check this out. So this is another one of those casted abilities. It gives me a target area, and then I can cast, and then it just kind of spews out lava. It looks really, really cool. I like it a lot. So imagine if you will, you've got your lava totem down there. You're throwing out these Emperor Palpatine things, and you got your earthquakes going, and then you put out that magma totem. Man, let me tell you what, that's a lot of fun. Okay, the Nature's Guardian is a passive ability when my health is brought below 35%. I instantly heal for 20% of my maximum health. This happens every 45 seconds. So let's say that I'm out fighting a guy and they bring me down below 35% health. Well, that bumps me up to like roughly 50 or so. On its own, it's like a free heal. It's like a cheat death kind of mechanic. This gives me primal elementals. That just means that they're 80% more powerful. So if you remember what the earth elemental looked like, this one looks a little different. So this is my primal earth elemental. So he's gonna come in here and do whatever he needs to do in there, and he's just more powerful. That's all it is. As an elemental shaman, my elementals should be more powerful. So that's what that is. Now, last one here gives me Ascendant. Now, Ascendant transforms me into a Flame Ascendant, which looks like an elemental. And for 15 seconds, replaces Chain Lightning with Lava Beam, removing the cooldown of Lava Burst, and increases the damage of Lava Burst by an amount equal to your critical strike chance. So, here's what that looks like. I'm going to hit this, and now when I do Chain Lightning, it turns it into Lava Beam instead. And if I wanted to, I can just cast as many of these Lava Bursts as I want. You can see my stacks here are not going down. Some of them are instant cast because of the mechanic of the Flame Shock there. But yeah, it lasts only for 15 seconds, which is not very long. So you want to make the best of it. And it's got a 3-minute cooldown, so that's a really powerful ability there. Everything on here is really, really cool too. I thought about messing around with the rest of these, but kind of go through these, look at them, read them. If you have any questions about how any of these talents work, let me know. But yeah, that is basically the Shaman, the Enhancement Shaman and the Elemental Shaman. I would go over Resto Shaman, but I don't think any of you are going to use it. It's useful only in groups. If you're going to be out by yourself, leveling Enhancement or Elemental is really where it's at. If later on in the future you become comfortable running in groups and you want to try your hand at healing, I can definitely do a healing guide on that, and even probably do a dungeon run at the end of that video. But that'll be it for this. Like I said, if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.